Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourself because today we are going to be learning a little bit about one of the creepiest SCPs ever to exist.
The applicant nervously adjusts his tie. Again. He's a fresh law school graduate who knows just how hard it is to get your foot in the door in the cutthroat legal world. Hundreds of people applied online for this position at the prestigious firm of Gilbert and Evans.
It's not that hard. I did that when I was like 12.
Good enough to be offered an in-person interview, and only one of them will get the job.
Why so nervous?
Has been here since 10 a.m., and after 2 long, anxiety-filled hours, only 2 more people are left. The applicant is trying to stay calm. He wants the interviewer to think he's confident, but he can't help but feel nervous.
Don't worry, they saved the best for last.
As he checks the time, every second feels like an hour. Maybe he should have brought a book. It would have kept him distracted and made him look smart in front of his prospective employer.
That is true. Lots of thoughts.
All the applicant can do is examine the office carpet.
What's wrong with the carpet?
The carpet is bright red, decorated with lines that make blocky, overlapping shapes. The applicant wonders if it's meant to look like terracotta paving or something.
Interesting.
It doesn't really match with the aesthetic of the building.
Not at all. It looks very weird and out of place.
So new that the applicant can detect the lingering smell of the recently applied paint. He thinks he might have heard the secretary mention that the carpet got replaced recently. Aside from the secretary, the only other person in the room is the other candidate. She's been reading a book while she calmly waits to be called in. Of course she brought a book. The applicant is jealous of her calm appearance. His only solace comes in remembering that she's probably nervous too, but is just better than him at hiding it. After what feels like an eternity, the interviewer opens the door.
Oh my gosh.
The interviewer calls the woman's name, and she stands up, tucking her book under her arm.
They did save him for last.
Wishes her good luck, and she nods before going into the other room.
She didn't even say anything. She's like, yeah, I'm getting the job.
The applicant tries to soothe his nerves by tracing the patterns in the carpet with his eyes, but it's no use. His mouth feels extremely dry. He can feel his tongue sticking to the backs of his teeth.
Whatever you do,
his lower jaw.
Do not touch the carpet.
To ease the dry sensation. The secretary had asked him if he wanted some water earlier, but he declined, like a fool.
Like a fool.
This might be the last chance he gets before he goes into the interview. Hesitantly, he waves to get the secretary's attention. Then, in a hoarse voice, he asks for a cup of water.
Oh my gosh, he is not doing well.
As the secretary goes to get the water, the applicant glances back down. He could swear the pattern on the carpet had moved, but that couldn't be possible.
Dude. Okay, guys, so I kind of do know a little bit about this SCP. It is called SCP-522, better known as the blood-sucking carpet. And this guy really should not be near it right now.
Needs to focus. He tries to cross his legs, but can't. Something seems to be holding his leg down. Before he can even register what's happening to him, the applicant starts to feel woozy. Something is taking him out here, but the
that is so
can't
weird.
do anything about it. He feels
weak, my god.
Cold. Darkness starts to creep into
his vision. The carpet has infected him.
Everything around goes black. Meanwhile,
okay, guys, I'm kind of curious because it's called the blood-sucking carpet, right? Does that mean that, like, just by touching it, even with, like, his shoes and his clothes on, does it still have the ability to, like, suck up his blood? Kind of like a leechy worm, which is just, like, so weird to think about. I don't like to think about it at all. That is just, like, the last thing that I want to even, like, have an SCP video be about. But it's what we're watching today. So is it able to, like, literally just, like, bypass his shoes and then just start, like, sucking up his blood? Is that why he passed out? Because he was losing blood? And that's why he was getting, like, super dehydrated? I mean, he was nervous, obviously, for this interview, but is part of the reason the SCP.
While the interview is going smoothly, the woman being interviewed is calm, put together, and seems qualified for the position.
She's gonna get the job.
The interviewer has gone through enough people today to have a pretty good idea of who's going to be invited back, but there's still one more person to speak to. Right now, as he absently shakes hands with the woman and wishes her the best, really he's thinking about what he'll order for lunch. Salad?
Boo.
Maybe a burrito? Suddenly,
lame millionaire man
out from the waiting room. The woman and the interviewer both rush to the door and throw it open.
What happened?
They see the secretary, her face ashen, her outstretched hand.
What happened to the guy?
Applicant
oh my gosh!
Slumped over in his chair.
I was right.
Dead. The offices of Gilbert and Evans soon go into lockdown. It doesn't take long for the paramedics to realize that something isn't right about the applicant's body.
His entire body looks like a zombified corpse that has literally had all of his blood sucked out of his body like I do with a Capri Sun.
The interviewer and the secretary both assumed that he died of a sudden stress-induced heart attack.
Holy
Obviously,
smokes.
it's a tragedy in someone so young, of course, but not completely unheard of in the legal field.
I guess. It's a
However,
high-stress
the body
environment.
doesn't show any signs of having suffered
No,
cardiac
just
arrest.
stay away from the carpet.
There's also the fact that the applicant didn't make a noise before he passed away, not even a gasp. In fact, it seems he went very peacefully, all things considered. But the
Well, they had no idea that we were able to listen to his thoughts, and he was anything but peaceful. That guy was a ball of anxiety.
strangest thing about the applicant's corpse is that there's not a drop of blood in his body. Not only that, but there's no blood at the scene. There are no obvious puncture wounds, but how else could a man have been drained of blood so quickly?
That's when you call the
With
SCP.
no other possible explanation. The death of the applicant is treated as a murder, and the city's top homicide detective is called in. The detective questions the woman, the secretary, and the interviewer, and they all tell the same story. The applicant seemed nervous, which was to be expected.
Well, guys, also, too, wouldn't you think that in, like, such a high-powered law office that there would be, like, I don't know, a security camera somewhere? Couldn't this, like, super highly intelligent genius investigator just look at the CCTV footage and then he could realize that the guy was sitting there and then he was just, like, you know, kind of being a little antsy, tapping his foot, and then out of nowhere, he slumped over and all of his blood was gone.
He asked for water, and then while the secretary was out of the room, he dropped dead.
That is kind of weird that it was when she left.
A thorough examination of the room. Nothing out of the ordinary, not even stains in the carpet. Well, apart from the wet spot where the secretary dropped the cup of water in shock.
Wait, guys, I wonder too, I mean, the carpet is red, but is it red because, like, its entire body is just absorbing all of the blood, so it, like, becomes the color of the blood? But maybe the carpet started out as, like, just, like, I don't know, like a gray or like a white, and then after so many victims, it just slowly became more and more red.
The detective's
That's
best
so
theory
creepy.
is that someone must have used a pump or some kind of machine to drain the applicant's blood. But the logistics of something like that happening seem unlikely.
And why would they even
The
do that?
secretary didn't
To
see
sell
anything.
it to the
There are no
FBI?
visible signs of a large machine
black
even
market?
having been in the room. There's no depression marks in the carpet. No one heard the telltale sounds of machinery. As the detective examines the room further, the witnesses are escorted away, and the other officers turn their focus to checking the hallways. The building's doorman is questioned about any suspicious characters who might have come into the building that morning. Perhaps one of the other interviewees was trying to boost their chances of getting hired by eliminating the competition. After a thorough examination, the detective heads back to the station and starts to complete the paperwork for the case. It's far from the worst death the detectives ever investigated, but something about it sticks with him for the rest of the day.
What is it?
As he scribbles his notes, thoughts
Just the
bounce
blood?
around inside his head. The applicant's death is worse than gruesome. It's confusing. Why would the killer have picked him as a victim? Why, if the killer was a fellow applicant motivated by jealousy, would they have only stopped at one victim?
True.
The case is so puzzling.
I'm also kind of curious too. I mean, obviously this guy doesn't know that it's an SCP that's an actual carpet, because who in their right mind would think that? Nobody would think that, guys. But what I am kind of curious about is why the carpet attacked this guy, right? You must have thought that all of the applicants were in that same room. They were probably standing on the carpet, or like other people that even work in the law office, they probably have walked over the carpet. So why this guy? Was it because he was like tapping the carpet in a certain way? Was it completely random? Or was it the fact that, I don't know, maybe there was something about this guy. Maybe it was the anxiety. Maybe it was the fact that he was super nervous. Maybe his like defenses were down and that's how the carpet attacks. I don't know. But when I said this was one of the weirdest SCPs, I was not joking. It is a carpet that is a vampire.
Detective almost forgets to take his shoes off before getting into bed that night, something he regularly does when he's consumed by a case. He counts himself lucky to live alone. He slips off his shoes, places them next to the bed, and drifts off to sleep. The following morning, the detective wakes up. He checks his phone to see if the crime lab had any revelations during the night that could potentially crack this case. Nothing. Disheartened, he starts his day. He swings his legs out of bed, but something is wrong. As soon as he puts his feet down on the carpet, he feels a heavy weight pulling down on them, as though something is grabbing onto them. The detective looks down. something wide and flat has engulfed his foot entirely.
Wait a
Something
second.
that's the same color as his
Carpet
bedroom
went
carpet.
there?
The detective tries to scream, but the more of his body that's engulfed by the carpet,
Oh!
the more he's overcome by
Oh
a
my
wave
god!
of exhaustion.
Yo!
He feels
No!
cold
Whoa,
and numb.
whoa,
Two things that he
whoa!
knows are symptoms of
What is
rapid
happening?
blood loss.
What is
At
happening?
that moment, he understands what happened to the job applicant.
Well, yeah,
By the
of
time
course
anyone
he does.
questions his absence from work, the detective will be long dead.
Are
a
you
victim of the
kidding
same
me?
mysterious blood loss that he'd been brought in to investigate. Naturally, when a detective investigating a mysterious death falls victim to that same mysterious death on the very...
But guys, wait, how did the carpet even get there? The carpet, so not only is the carpet like a vampire, but it can teleport, it can move, it can just bend time and space, or are there multiple carpets? Are there like clones of this carpet? And then if somebody looks into the person that it like ate, basically, it like sucked it dry like a fruit gusher, do they also then go and then attack that person? I don't understand.
very next day, the SCP Foundation takes notice. The Foundation was quick to lock down the Ponderosa Plaza building and the detective's home and deliver amnestics to everyone present. As
Good.
far as the witnesses
Boom.
know,
Men in
nobody
Black
but police
Flash.
or paramedics ever arrived on the
Your
scene.
brain has been
and both
wiped.
The applicant and the detective died of unfortunately timed heart attacks.
Well,
the carpets in both
not
locations
quite.
were eventually removed and replaced at a discounted rate by a trusted local business called Superior Carpet Professionals.
Okay, guys, the SCP, I mean, that's actually awesome. The Superior Carpet Professionals, genius. The SCP are geniuses. But, like, why did they feel so comfy picking up the carpet when they know that the carpet is SCP-522, the blood-sucking carpet? Why would you want to pick that thing up? I wouldn't
This
touch
was
that with a
done to
10-foot
hopefully
pole.
prevent any further deaths caused by SCP-522, the blood-sucking carpet.
Yeah, hideous.
SCP-522 looks at first glance like an ordinary swatch of red, geometrically patterned carpet.
True.
When being observed by more than one person, it's completely inert. But if a victim is left alone in a room with it, it will rip itself from the floor.
That's what
wrap
it
around
is.
Whatever body parts
Oh
it can reach,
my,
and insert
what?
thousands of microscopic fillers
What?
into the victim's skin.
What?
SCP-522 can suck every drop of blood out of a living creature in a matter of minutes.
It turns into
Once the
a
victim
worm
is completely
snake.
exsanguinated, the creature lets its prey go
Dad.
and returns to its spot on the floor
Dad.
as if nothing happened.
What?
When another person enters the room, they find a blanched corpse that appears to have just dropped dead while nobody was looking.
I'm kind of curious now, what happens if somebody else like were to come back while it was attacking? Would they get attacked, or would the carpet just like go back down on the ground like nothing happened?
While the sample in Foundation containment is bright red, this color, in fact, has nothing to do with the creature's gruesome diet, and instances of SCP-522 can appear in any color of carpet. Further investigation into the creature's structure has uncovered that this is because the carpet itself isn't alive. It's merely become infested with a mysterious and aggressive form of unknown slime mold that thrives in
What?
carpet fibers.
So it could be
For
any
this reason,
carpet,
anyone
literally.
working with SCP-522 is required to wear a full hazmat suit and go through standard decontamination procedures after leaving the containment cell.
And there must be at least two
As
of them,
we learned
right?
from the case of the unfortunate detective, it's all too possible to create new instances of SCP-522 simply by standing in a previous instance and tracking it onto the carpet in another location.
So he made a new
This is
carpet.
backed up by anecdotal evidence suggesting that instances of SCP-522 have never been recorded attacking victims who live in shoes-off households.
Interesting.
SCP-522 is fed a live
So guys, note to self, take off your shoes before you enter. Leave the outside outside. Leave the SCPs outside where they can't get you.
pig or animal of equivalent size once a week. This schedule is somewhat arbitrary,
Wait, they
as it's
feed it?
unclear how long the organism can actually survive between feedings. Like many ambush predators, it can be very patient when it wants to be. Outside of testing conditions, absolutely no personnel are permitted to enter SCP-522's enclosure without supervision.
Okay.
The carpet mostly behaves like an animal, but seems to have a limited intelligence, or at least a higher
Same.
awareness of its surroundings. Through animal and human testing, the Foundation has been able to determine that the carpet can tell the difference between a sentient person and an animal.
That's
If a
pretty
D-class is
weird.
made to stand in the center of SCP-522, while another observes from the other side of the room, SCP-522 will remain inert.
That's so
The
weird.
same happens if a rat is placed on SCP.
But wait, does that mean that you can still capture it on camera, right? Because they know what happens, so they have to have figured it out somehow.
522, while a D-class observes. But when 2 rats are placed in the same positions, SCP-522 will simply attack and exsanguinate one, despite the presence of the other.
So it doesn't care about other animals.
Standing on top of the carpet while a rat observes yielded the same results.
So
SCP-522 only acts when it isn't being observed by human eyes specifically. It is yet to be determined if SCP-522 knows a human witness would be able to raise an alarm and warn away future victims.
Interesting.
Despite seeming to be aware of the difference between humans and animals, however, it doesn't seem to be able to account for the cameras that are constantly filming within its enclosure.
So it's not that smart.
When presented with an opportunity to hunt, seemingly nothing can stop SCP-522 from engulfing its prey.
What about a
In one
flamethrower?
test, Foundation
Did we
personnel
try that?
stapled the carpet to the floor to see if this would impede it. A D-class was made to stand in the center of the carpet. SCP-522 showed considerable strength when ripping the staples out of the floor.
But it's
and
a
quickly
carpet!
engulfed and exsanguinated.
How does a carpet do that?
Another test was done with a heavy desk partially placed on top of SCP-522, while a D-class was also standing on it.
Oh my goodness.
SCP-522 was actually able to wriggle itself out from under the desk, exsanguinate the D-class, then slip itself back under the desk.
All right, try it with
Given
4
how
sumo
easily
wrestlers.
the SCP-522 organism can spread, and how stealthy and persistent a hunter it continually proves itself to be, the Foundation has naturally considered if it may have some potential real-world applications. If the right controls were put in place, for example, it could serve as the perfect tool for covert political assassination.
That is true.
Attempts are underway to breed and cultivate more of this organism in the lab.
It is easy to spread.
For now, thanks to the Foundation's efforts,
is it
the
Euclid
only known
class?
surviving instance of SCP-522 exists in Containment. But given that it can spread to any carpet, it is recommended that all of our followers give their carpets a thorough clean.
I will be doing that
leaving
after
more
today's
shoes at the
video.
door when you come home, just to be safe. And if you're looking to renovate or move into a new home anytime soon,
check the
you
carpets.
should probably consider sticking to hardwood floors.
Agreed.